Before we start this video, first we must clarify, what is a Hallmark movie? According to the Urban Dictionary, a Hallmark movie is a movie shown on TV that has the same basic plot as 50 or more other movies on the same network. Hallmark is a Christmas card company, or just like a greetings card company in general, and they've kind of perfected the craft of making movies about single women finding love at Christmas. Like those movies about the businesswoman going to the small town and she has a boyfriend in the city, but then she meets the country boy who is different and teaches her the true meaning of Christmas, and she chooses to stay in the country instead of going back to the city. Those type of movies is the kind of stuff that Hallmark produces on a regular basis. And by regular basis, I mean often. Like 50 or more a year kind of thing. However, Hallmark movies has become an umbrella term for terrible, low budget rom-coms that all give off the same vibe. Think Princess Switch on Netflix, anything from the streaming service Passion Flicks. The things that these films usually have in common are that they are painfully heterosexual. Every so often though, there's a gay best friend, you know, the sassy gay best friend who like gives advice and stuff like that, but that's about as far as it goes. That's he might get a subplot if he's lucky, but that's the extent of their purpose usually in these movies. This changed with the Amazon Prime adaptation of Casey McQuiston's book Red, White and Royal Blue. Now, I've talked about Red, White and Royal Blue. I read it a couple of years ago and I did a video where I compared it to Cemetery Boys. Is that what it was called? It's been a while. You can find that on my channel in the playlist Book Babbles. I basically read those two books at the same time and kind of compared them because they were both really popular queer novels that had came out around the same time, and I was interested in both of them, so I kind of read and compared to see how they kind of measured up against each other. My view on Red, White and Royal Blue, the book, was basically, in a nutshell, like, it was enjoyable. It wasn't meant to be like taken like too seriously kind of thing. It was very much guilty pleasure rom-com that, you know what, the LGBT community deserve. You know, we don't need to have big serious plot points all the time. We deserve our own little silly stories that don't really need to have a big massive message at the end. You know, sometimes we just want a silly rom-com. Sometimes we just want to see two guys fall in love. And that's okay, you know? But that's pretty much what my view on the book in a nutshell was. If you want to see my full review on both it and Cemetery Boys, I'll link the video at the end, or you can find it on my playlist Book Babbles. At first, I didn't have much interest in this adaptation of Red, White and Royal Blue. I'm not sure why. At first, I didn't know that it was happening at all. It wasn't until a poster was released, you know, the sock poster. The sock poster, that sounds weird if you don't know what I'm talking about, but basically the poster of their socks that are like look like their flags. I didn't know up until that poster got released, and I was like, oh shit, they're making a movie out of it, okay. And then I wasn't really drawn to it. I'm not sure why, because usually that's right up my street. Anything that's kind of like LGBT, romantic, getting released, I'm there. I don't even need to, it doesn't even matter the plot most of the time, I'm usually there. But for some reason the draw wasn't there for me this time, so I wasn't really like anticipating it with, you know, like the way I was with the Barbie movie or something like that. But I was at a loose end on Sunday night and I had to justify my Amazon Prime Video subscription because I don't watch it enough. I even forced myself to watch the horrendous season 2 of Good Omens the other day, which I might make a video on, although I don't know if I should because I'll annoy a lot of people because everyone seems to really like it and I didn't. So I don't know if I'm going to make that video yet or not, but basically I've been trying to justify my Amazon Prime Video subscription because I haven't been using it at all and yet I'm still subscribed. So I sat down and I watched Red, White and Royal Blue. And I have thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts. What else is there a big surprise? Like Erin has opinions. What is this whole channel made up of, really? We'll get the negatives out of the way first, as usual, because I feel like once you get the negatives out of the way, then we can just focus on the positives. The acting was touch and go. The script was cheesy, but then so was the book. The book was also kind of cheesy, so it was kind of taking from the source material in making the movie cheesy. There was just some moments with the acting where it was just kind of like, this feels like it. This doesn't it felt like someone had just like gathered like actors like from their local drama club and kind of gathered them all up to do an adaptation of Red, White and Royal Blue. I'll say the guy who played Prince Henry was great, and he's been in everything recently. Like, he's been all over the place. He's going to be in a movie called Bottoms, and he was in Purple Hearts, and he's also going to play the Harry Styles self-insert in that movie that's going to have Anne Hathaway falling in love with him. That one, yeah, he's playing the Harry Styles insert in that, and he's just been everywhere recently. But he was alright. And I want to say that Uma Thurman was alright, but her voice was throwing me off. Does she really sound like that? I'm not going to make a definitive claim because I haven't watched Uma Thurman in enough things, but her voice sounded so fake. I don't know if it was because she was trying to sound like she was from Texas, or she was trying to like put on a southern accent, or what was going on, but every time she was speaking, I just couldn't help thinking she's putting it on. And I'll be shocked if that is actually what she sounds like, because I kept thinking the entire time she's putting this on, like, this voice isn't hers, it can't be. So, like, let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. I could 100% be wrong. I don't know. But it sounded really off to me. I hope I'm not the only one, and I really hope it's not her real voice, because I'm going to feel really bad. The green screening was horrendous. I don't know who was in charge of the special effects, but the green screening was terrible. Anytime they were outside, it looked fake. Anytime when they kissed by the tree, background didn't look real. It whatever they were doing, that like if they were close up shot and they were outside, it looked real enough. But you see, if you had to get like a wide shot of anything, it looked awful. I don't know who was in charge of that, but they did a really bad job. Like whenever Henry was supposed to look like he was like with his family, like on the balcony of the palace and stuff like that, and when anytime they just went outside, it just didn't look real. It looked very low budget, but that kind of adds to the hallmark of it all, the hallmark quality of it, because that is what you would expect from a Hallmark movie. It felt very rushed as well, like the enemies part of the enemies to lovers story that Red, White and Royal Blue is supposed to be. It just went straight, like it just flew through. Like the enemies was barely 5 minutes, and then it was lovers, and it was very quick in the book, but like I don't know if it's because it was in movie format or what was going on. It felt so much faster in the movie, and that could have been because of the editing, it could have been because of the script, I'm not sure. But it just felt like it was a blink and then they were lovers, you know? And you want a little bit of that spicy enemies bit before, you know? I would have liked a bit more of that enemies before they kind of went to lovers. I can't decide if they changed the Henry's grandparents to being the king instead of a queen, because in the book it's a queen, I'm pretty sure. I'm kind of self-doubting myself now, but I'm pretty sure it was a queen. And I'm not sure if they changed that because of the passing of Queen Elizabeth or because they had an opportunity to have Stephen Fry in the movie. But I'm going to say that it was maybe the latter or the former. I don't know. Could have been a form of respect for the fact that Queen Elizabeth has passed away. I don't know. That's not really a negative. It's just more of a confusion kind of thing. Like I'm a bit unsure about why that decision was made. But just a bit. Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe there was an obvious reason. Maybe I'm such an idiot that it was a king in the book, but I'm pretty confident it wasn't. I'm pretty sure it was a queen. Okay, that's the negatives out of the way. Let's go to the positives. Gay love story. Isn't that enough? A gay rom-com that is not about the agony of being gay and hating oneself, and these guys just love each other and they're being romantic, and yeah, there's a bit of drama about coming out and stuff like that, but it's more focused on the drama and the love story, and like there's no tragedy. There's a happy ending for once, you know? It's happy. It didn't shy away from the sex scenes either. Like there's no like full frontal or anything like that, but normally with LGBT stories, they kind of fade to black whenever the intimacy starts. They kind of like fade away so that they don't have to really address that part or film that part, whereas you don't see them doing it. You see their faces, you know, like they don't just fade away and then they wake up in bed kind of thing. It was a relatively accurate adaptation as well. Like, compared to the book, besides it being a little bit rushed in comparison to the book, it hit pretty much all the points that I remember. Some points were in montages, like the what's it called? It's not cricket. You know, the horse is, and they're doing the hitting the ball and the horses. I can't remember the name. It'll come to me when I stop finishing this. That scene. Things like that were in a montage, but they were still included, if that makes sense. So it was still like part of like bits that were in the book that wouldn't necessarily contribute too much to the plot were still included. They were just included in a way that kind of like didn't like waste time or take away from the runtime of the film. It's kind of fairy tale-esque as well, which is something else that queer people deserve in their stories, in their movies, and in their books and media and things like that, because you don't hear a lot about queer fairy tales. Like, you get your Cinderella, you get your Beauty and the Beast, you get your Snow White. It's all heterosexual, and you're sure you could write your own version where it's LGBT, but it's nice to have a story that is LGBT from source to beginning. From beginning to end, it's all it's all queer and all for the LGBT people, and we get our own fairy tale about falling in love with a prince and the prince falling in love with us, except we aren't the president's son. But you know what I mean. No one really thinks that they're like Cinderella, but they still believe that they'll fall in love with the prince whenever they watch the story. You know, that's not what fairy tales aren't supposed to be about. Realism. They're supposed to be about enjoying yourself, enjoying a love story, and having a bit of fun. I will probably talk about the Snow White adaptation at some point, with similar themes, not to pile on Rachel Zegler because she's getting enough trouble at the minute from people, but there are some opinions I have in terms of the Snow White adaptation and fairy tales. But that's not what we're talking about today. The most important thing to me is that LGBTQ people deserve aimless, cheesy, OTT rom-coms. Not every LGBT story has to be about serious issues like homophobia, coming out, discrimination. We deserve to have fun movies as well. We deserve to have movies where we can just put it on, watch, like, see a couple that represents us falling in love and seeing people like us getting a fairy tale ending. Because for a very long time we didn't get that. I couldn't name any movies that are kind of fairy tale-esque that are queer. All the movies that I can think of all end in heartbreak. Like, Brokeback Mountain is the first one that comes to mind for me, and that movie does not have a happy ending. If you've seen Brokeback Mountain, you know what I'm talking about. We just want movies that are fun, enjoyable, and you can just whack it on, have some fun, and believe in love again if you want to get cheesy. The way that heterosexual people do with their fairy tales, you know? We definitely deserve more stories that don't end in death or discrimination or the couple being torn apart. We deserve couples that are happy, they love each other, and it's just lovely to watch them fall in love and, yeah, maybe face a bit of adversity but overcome it all in the end. It's much nicer than having to see them suffer all the time, you know? Although, if you do have any recommendations of other movies or stories that are like queer fairy tales, please leave them below in the comments. I will be all over that stuff 100%, because I really enjoyed this, and I really enjoy the idea of seeing more queer fairy tales just in general. The movie did get me tearing up at some points too. At the end, when they basically tell the king to go screw himself and they go out onto the balcony where all the people are like waving the flags and stuff like that, I teared up. I did. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. I appreciate being made to feel something. If something makes me feel angry, I appreciate it. If something makes me cry, I appreciate it. If something makes me happy, I appreciate it. Because being made to feel something is better than feeling nothing at all. There's nothing worse than sitting watching something and feeling nothing. So I always appreciate being made to feel something. And of course, who can forget? Maybe this is actually the most important thing that Red, White and Royal Blue, the film adaptation, has done. It taught that one girl on Twitter that gay guys can do missionary. She didn't know this, bless her heart, and the movie taught her that. So it's even educating people. This movie is even educating the masses on on stuff that they didn't know. So you know what? That is another amazing thing that Red, White and Royal Blue has done for us. Or for that girl in particular. Is Red, White and Royal Blue going to be nominated for any Oscars? No. Is Red, White and Royal Blue a masterpiece? No. Is Red, White and Royal Blue fun? Yes. Is Red, White and Royal Blue a lovely rom-com to watch? Absolutely. And honestly, sometimes that's all you need. Not every movie needs to be the next I'm drawing a blank now. Of course I'm drawing a blank. Not every movie needs to be the next Oppenheimer or the next Christopher Nolan epic. Sometimes you just want to put on a dumb film where two idiots fall in love and you get to see that, and LGBT people deserve to see that too. With their community and their sexuality being represented in such a way, we deserve that too. Again, if you know any more stories like this, whether it's books, movies, TV shows, leave it in the comments below. I'd love to see it. I know about Heartstopper. Unfortunately, I don't have Netflix, but I did read the first few graphic novels and it is so adorable. I also know there's something called Young Royals. I think it's on Netflix too, so I don't have that. So basically, if there's anything that you're going to recommend on Netflix, I don't have Netflix. I'm useless, I'm sorry. But if there's anything else that you know, like books or anything like that, let me know down below, because I really enjoyed getting to watch and enjoy a dumb LGBT rom-com where they live happily ever after and pretty much ride off into the sunset at the end, and there's no heartache or pain or death or separation, you know? So I appreciated that. And I think a lot of other LGBT people felt represented and appreciated that representation too. Because despite it being 2023, off the top of my head, I can't think of any LGBT fairy tales at all. Anyway, what did you guys think about Red, White and Royal Blue, both the book or the movie adaptation? Let me know down below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I don't mind either way. Let me know down below. I'm always up for a good debate. Like, comment and subscribe. Check out my book if you want. Don't do that if you don't want to. I don't want you there if you don't want to be there. And remember, LGBT people deserve fairy tales too, okay? We deserve our happily ever after as well.